There was a time when beauty wasn't about confidence or expression. It was survival, status, and obedience. People swallowed poison for pale skin, rubbed crocodile dung on their faces, wore lead makeup that slowly killed them, and believed bathing too often was dangerous. Hygiene wasn't science. It was superstition, fear, ritual, and in some cases, torture disguised as elegance. Today, we're exploring 50 of the strangest, most unbelievable hygiene and beauty rules humanity once followed, and trust me, some of them will make your skin crawl. In ancient Rome, wealthy women believed beauty began with pain. They plucked every visible hair using seashell tweezers, bleached their skin with chalk and vinegar, and rubbed crushed beetles mixed with lead to redden their lips. Some even burned goat fat to darken their eyebrows. Hygiene wasn't about being clean, it was a message. I am rich enough to suffer. The irony? Many slowly poisoned themselves trying to look perfect, unaware their beauty routine was silently killing them from within. In 17th century France, perfume wasn't luxury, it was survival. Bathing was rare because people believed water carried diseases through pores, so instead, nobles drenched wigs, skin, shoes, and even bedsheets in heavy floral and animal-based scents like ambergris and musk. A person's smell announced their status before they spoke. The dirtier someone was, the stronger the perfume. It was elegance built on avoidance, not cleanliness, an era where an unwashed body wrapped in roses was considered more attractive than actual hygiene. In medieval Europe, shaving eyebrows was a beauty obsession, especially during the late 1300s. A high, rounded forehead signaled intelligence and spiritual purity, so women plucked their hairline until it nearly reached the top of their skull. Some applied walnut oil or vinegar to burn the follicles permanently. Portraits from the era show noble women with smooth, empty foreheads and barely visible brows. Strangely, the look wasn't shocking then. It was desirable. People willingly erased part of their face just to match society's strange ideal. In ancient China, noblewomen practiced silk tooth polishing, believing teeth should shine like pearls. They brushed with powders made from ground jade, salt, and honey. Some even dyed their gums black because dark gums symbolized refinement and mystery. Poor hygiene wasn't accepted. Breath was judged like poetry. A foul smell could end a marriage proposal instantly. Beauty, in their eyes, wasn't just visible. It was something carried in every breath, every smile, every small detail most people overlook today. In Victorian England, pale skin meant luxury and purity. Women used mixtures of lead, ammonia, and arsenic to whiten their faces until veins became visible. Some even consumed arsenic wafers sold in fine shops, convinced they created a porcelain glow. Doctors warned, yet society ignored them because illness looked fashionable. A faint cough, trembling hands, and fragile posture weren't signs of poisoning. They were admired. Beauty became a slow death sentence disguised as refinement and innocence. In Japan's Heian period, aristocrats stained their teeth black using iron filings soaked in vinegar and tea, a practice called ohaguro. Black teeth symbolized maturity, loyalty, and elegance, especially among married women. They powdered their faces white with rice paste, contrasting sharply with the dark enamel. The look wasn't frightening, it was graceful, poetic, and spiritual. Beauty was not about looking youthful, but appearing wise and trustworthy. Today it seems shocking, yet in that world, white teeth meant immaturity and lack of discipline. In ancient Egypt, cleanliness wasn't optional, it was sacred. People shaved their entire bodies to avoid lice and heat. Instead of natural hair, elites wore intricately braided wigs soaked in fragrant oils and incense. Makeup wasn't just decoration. It protected them. Green malachite eyeshadow shielded against infection, while kohl reduced sun glare. They bathed daily using natron, a natural salt. To them, hygiene connected earth, spirit, and power. A clean body wasn't vanity. It was a sign the gods favored you. In medieval England, people believed washing weakened the body, so many avoided full baths entirely. Instead, they wiped themselves with linen cloths dipped in rose water or ale. Some rubbed onion slices under their arms to absorb evil smells. Bedding and clothing were shaken outdoors rather than washed. Strangely, this wasn't laziness. It was fear. Clean skin felt exposed and vulnerable, as if disease could enter easier. Filth became a protective layer in a world terrified of the unseen. In 19th century America, hair tonics exploded in popularity. Men and women rubbed mixtures of bear fat, kerosene, rum, and herbs onto their scalps, believing it stimulated growth and prevented baldness. The smell was overwhelming, but desperation made it normal. Advertisements promised youth restored in 7 days. Many burned their skin, some even caught fire near candles or stoves. Still, people continued. Losing hair wasn't cosmetic, it symbolized weakness. So they risked danger just to chase the illusion of eternal vitality. In Renaissance Italy, women used deadly belladonna drops in their eyes to dilate their pupils, creating a soft, romantic gaze. The effect was mesmerizing but also dangerous. Blurred vision, rapid heartbeat, hallucinations, and eventually blindness. Society didn't care. A woman who looked dreamy and delicate was admired, even if her sight faded slowly from the poison. Beauty was performance, not comfort. Every fluttering blink carried risk, proving some would rather lose their senses than lose admiration. In ancient Greece, athletes coated their bodies in olive oil before exercising, not only for beauty but for ritual purity. After training, they scraped off the oil mixed with dirt and sweat using a tool called a strigil, believing the mixture contained strength and vitality. Some even bottled and sold it as medicine or love charm. Hygiene wasn't about avoiding filth, it was about transforming it. To them, sweat wasn't disgusting. It was evidence of discipline, pride, and physical excellence. In 18th century England, towering powdered wigs weren't just fashion. They were status symbols. People stuffed them with horsehair and scented powder, then sealed them with lard. But the oils attracted lice and mice, so many slept with wire cages around their heads to protect the hairstyle. Cleaning wasn't simple. Wigs were fumigated with smoke or dried herbs. The more elaborate and scented a wig was, the more powerful its owner seemed, even if beneath the elegance was rot, irritation, and crawling parasites. In the Aztec Empire, chewing gum wasn't casual habit. It was moral territory. Women used chicory to freshen breath and soften speech. But if a married woman chewed openly in public, she was judged as flirtatious or unfaithful. Men rarely used gum at all, believing strong, natural breath was more masculine. Hygiene wasn't neutral, it signaled character, intention, or reputation. Something as simple as fresh breath could elevate a person socially or instantly ruin their public image. In medieval Persia, women created perfume, using rose petals collected at dawn when fragrance was strongest. This wasn't vanity, it was considered a refined art and a spiritual act. Some burned sandalwood, amber, or saffron in clothing chests, so garments absorbed scent over weeks. Cleanliness symbolized inner discipline and grace. While Europe avoided bathing, Persian elites visited public bathhouses regularly, using clay, silk cloths, and herbal scrubs. To them, a clean body reflected a clean mind and an honorable household. In 18th century Russia, cold water bathing was believed to strengthen the spirit and harden the body. People plunged into icy rivers, especially during winter festivals, convinced the shock purified sin and sickness. Saunas followed, steam mixed with birch branch whipping to stimulate blood flow. To outsiders, it seemed brutal, even barbaric. But to Russians, pain and cold weren't punishments. They were medicine. Beauty and health were earned through resilience, not softness. A strong body was proof of character and national identity. In colonial America, people cleaned their teeth using crushed oyster shells, soot, mud, or brick dust. Some believed rubbing salt directly onto gums prevented disease, even though it often caused bleeding and pain. Toothbrushes were rare and usually homemade from animal bone and boar bristles. Dental care wasn't about comfort. It was survival. Cavities meant infection. Infection meant death. So people used whatever they had, no matter how abrasive. Pain was acceptable as long as it preserved the mouth. In Ghana's Akan culture, traditional beauty rituals involved shea butter mixed with clay, herbs, and gold dust. Skin wasn't just skin, it was a canvas for ancestral memory and spiritual respect. Women braided hair into symbolic patterns, representing family lineage or personal milestones. Bathing with plant infusions wasn't simply cleansing, it aligned the body with balance, harmony, and intention. Beauty carried history, not fashion. Every scent, braid, and clay mark had meaning, forming an identity rooted deeply in ritual and pride. In Victorian America, mothers rubbed babies with bacon fat during winter, believing the grease protected skin from cold and illness. Some even fed toddlers cod liver oil daily, convinced the harsh taste guaranteed future health. Cleanliness was inconsistent. Some households avoided frequent bathing, thinking it weakened immunity. Yet appearance mattered. Pressed clothes, polished shoes, and neat hair defined respectability. Hygiene didn't follow logic, it followed expectation. People preferred smelling like smoke, animals, or oil rather than appearing unprepared for society. In ancient India, Ayurvedic beauty rituals shaped daily life. Women massaged their hair with coconut oil and hibiscus, believing healthy hair reflected inner balance. Clay masks made from turmeric, honey, and sandalwood calmed skin and symbolized purity. Bathing in rivers was both cleansing and sacred, especially the Ganges, believed to purify the body and soul. Beauty wasn't artificial transformation, it was alignment with nature. Harmony, fragrance, and softness weren't luxuries. They were expressions of spiritual well-being and disciplined self-care. In Mayan civilization, crossed eyes were considered a mark of divine beauty. Families sometimes hung beads between children's eyes, so they slowly developed the desired gaze. Skull shaping was also practiced using boards tied around infants' heads to create elongated forms. These rituals weren't seen as extreme. They were expressions of cultural identity, status, and devotion. To them, beauty wasn't inherited. It was crafted through patience, intention, and transformation, shaping both the body and the destiny it represented. In Tudor England, people believed bad smells carried disease, yet they rarely bathed. Instead, they carried pomanders filled with herbs, dried oranges, cloves, and crushed flowers. Wealthy individuals hung scented satchels inside clothing layers, so the fragrance followed them everywhere. Clothing was seldom washed. Instead, sweat, dirt, and perfume blended into a strange signature scent. Cleanliness wasn't measured by soap or water. It was measured by how well you could mask reality with sweetness, spice, and desperate improvisation. In ancient Rome, public bathhouses were social temples where people shaved, massaged, steamed, and exfoliated using pumice stones and oils. But hygiene wasn't perfect. Many shared the same water, and infections spread quickly. Still, Romans believed bathing polished both body and reputation. A person who avoided baths appeared uncivilized, suspicious, or poor. Cleanliness wasn't just physical, it signaled intellect, discipline, and social belonging. Even if the water wasn't safe, the ritual mattered more than the risk. In Victorian Europe, many believed cold baths cured laziness, melancholy, and sin. Doctors prescribed icy water as treatment for emotional weakness or inappropriate desires. Some institutions forced patients into freezing baths as punishment disguised as therapy. Hygiene wasn't gentle, it was moral enforcement. Suffering was seen as purification, and comfort as indulgence. The body became a battlefield where discipline replaced compassion. Clean skin meant nothing if the spirit wasn't controlled, according to their strict, unforgiving logic. In 18th century Italy, beauty spots, small artificial moles made from silk, velvet, or leather, were fashion statements. Placement conveyed secret messages. Near the lip meant playful, near the eye meant passionate, on the cheek meant flirtatious, and on the forehead symbolized dignity. People wore multiple spots at once, sometimes to hide scars from smallpox or lead-based makeup damage. Grooming wasn't just aesthetics. It was a language of coded gestures. A single dot could spark romance, gossip, or rivalry. In medieval Scandinavia, weekly bathing was surprisingly common, especially compared to much of Europe. People used hot springs, steam rooms, and wooden tubs filled with heated water. They combed hair frequently, shaved, and exchanged grooming tools at community baths. Cleanliness wasn't frivolous, it was honor. A dirty person was seen as weak, lazy, or dishonorable. Viking hygiene challenged stereotypes. Sharp beards, scented oils, neat hair, and polished appearances were symbols of strength and respect, not vanity. In ancient Persia, men carried ornate combs to groom mustaches throughout the day, believing facial hair represented dignity, wisdom, and masculinity. Some applied almond oil or beeswax to maintain shape. Beards weren't random. They followed styles linked to royalty, military rank, or scholarly reputation. A neglected beard damaged credibility. Grooming became silent communication. Length, texture, and symmetry all held meaning. To Persians, beauty was structure, patience, and ritual, not chaos or accident. In indigenous Australian cultures, ochre was applied to skin and hair for ceremonial, social, and practical purposes. Red, yellow, and white clay signified identity, connection, and storytelling. Some mixtures protected against insects or harsh sun, while others marked belonging within kinship structures. Grooming wasn't shallow, it was environmental wisdom and ancestral memory. Every stroke, every color, every layer held purpose, echoing thousands of years of culture where beauty, survival, and spirit were inseparable. In colonial France, wealthy women bleached their eyebrows and eyelashes to achieve a ghostly appearance that matched powder-white skin. Some applied beeswax and starch to create stiff, unnatural lashes that refused to move. The paler the face, the higher the status. Beauty wasn't warmth, it was distance, fragility, and otherworldly stillness. People wanted to resemble porcelain dolls, not humans. Emotion, sweat, or natural color were seen as vulgar signs of ordinary life. In native Hawaiian traditions, hair was sacred and deeply personal. Cutting it could symbolize grief, transition, or spiritual cleansing. Coconut oil infused with fragrant flowers like plumeria or male was used for conditioning and scent. Hair wasn't decoration, it was connection to ancestry, land, and breath. Grooming rituals honored the body as a living extension of heritage. To care for oneself was to care for the memory of those who came before. In Victorian society, homemade deodorant recipes included mixtures of vinegar, baking soda, crushed charcoal, and even powdered alum. People dabbed the mixture onto clothing rather than skin because sweat was seen as normal, but odor was seen as moral failure. Smell shaped reputation. A bad odor implied chaos, poor self-control, or low status. Deodorizing became policing, not hygiene. People didn't want to be clean, they wanted to be socially acceptable. In ancient Japan, noblewomen filed their teeth into elegant shapes and polished them with powders made from charcoal, shells, and salt. The goal wasn't to look natural, but refined. Long, smooth nails and delicate hair care rituals followed strict seasonal rules. Scented silk cloths were placed inside sleeves, so every movement released fragrance. Beauty was subtle, layered, and poetic, never loud. A person's hygiene and appearance reflected discipline, restraint, and emotional control, not vanity or self-indulgence. In 19th century China, wealthy women bound their feet from childhood, believing small feet, called lotus feet, represented beauty, purity, and high status. The process was excruciating. Bones were broken, reshaped, and compressed with tight cloth bindings. Women struggled to walk, yet the deformity was admired. Shoes were embroidered masterpieces, but the feet inside were often infected or decaying. Hygiene existed beneath suffering, where elegance demanded silence. Pain was normal, and beauty required lifelong sacrifice. In Roman Britain, people used animal fat mixed with ash and lime as soap, creating a harsh but effective cleanser. The smell was unpleasant, yet it removed dirt and softened skin. Wealthier citizens used imported olive oil and perfumes stored in glass bottles shaped like animals or gods. To them, grooming connected civilization to identity. Bathing separated Romans from what they considered barbarian. Cleanliness was pride, proof they belonged to an empire, not a wilderness. In Renaissance France, eyebrows were carefully shaped into thin arches, using sharpened mussel shells or heated wires. Women applied egg whites as natural glue to smooth skin and tightened wrinkles for hours. Rouge made from crushed insects or berries colored cheeks bright red. Appearance wasn't passive, it was constructed. The face became a canvas that communicated wealth, availability, and confidence. Grooming wasn't routine. It was performance, strategy, and social weaponry. In Ming Dynasty China, silk fans weren't just accessories, they were hygiene tools. People held perfumed fans close to their mouths while speaking because polite conversation required pleasant breath. Tea infused with mint, chrysanthemum, and cinnamon freshened the mouth, and tongue cleaning was common using bamboo scrapers. Clean breath symbolized good manners and emotional refinement. To smell pleasant was to respect others, not just oneself. Hygiene was a shared responsibility, not a private chore. In medieval hospitals across Europe, doctors believed dirt sealed wounds and protected against infection. They avoided washing injuries, thinking water invited disease. Instead, wounds were covered with mixtures of moss, cobwebs, wine, or mud. Patients sometimes went weeks without bathing, even while fevered. The logic was flawed but sincere. People feared invisible forces they didn't understand. Hygiene wasn't dismissed, it was misunderstood, shaped more by superstition than science. In indigenous Maori culture, facial tattoos called moko represented ancestry, courage, and personal story. Grooming wasn't about altering appearance, it was honoring identity. Oils made from shark liver or native plants preserved skin and hair, while ritual combs carved from bone or wood held deep meaning. Beauty wasn't measured by softness or symmetry, it was strength, lineage, and respect expressed through the body. Every mark was intentional, never cosmetic accident. In Edwardian England, women curled their hair using heated irons called tonging rods. These tools often caused burns, hair loss, or smoke-like odor, yet fashion demanded structured curls and volume. Some even used electrical devices, despite safety concerns. Beauty trends moved faster than technology, and people accepted risk as part of refinement. The perfect hairstyle wasn't effortless. It was earned through time, discomfort, and determination. In ancient Ethiopia, butter and ochre were applied to skin and hair to protect against harsh sun and dust. The blend wasn't only practical, it symbolized cultural beauty, fertility, and strength. Hairstyles varied. Braids signified age, community, or marital status. Grooming was communication, a visual language expressing belonging. Hygiene wasn't just personal, it was cultural identity woven into daily life. In medieval France, some believed demons caused dandruff, so priests performed rituals using holy oil or blessed herbs. Others sprinkled powdered violet roots or flour into their hair to absorb grease. Instead of washing, they layered scents and powders until hair became stiff and pale. Cleanliness wasn't scientific, it was spiritual battle. People didn't cleanse dirt, they attempted to cleanse fear. In ancient Egypt, some physicians recommended swallowing powdered emerald or crushed pearls to brighten the complexion and maintain youth. Wealthy individuals followed this advice eagerly, unaware it damaged their organs. They also applied honey and natron mixtures to exfoliate skin, believing impurities reflected spiritual imbalance. Beauty wasn't only surface, it symbolized health, holiness, and cosmic order. People treated their bodies like offerings to gods, even when the rituals were painful, expensive, or dangerously misguided. In Georgian England, men and women covered their natural hairlines with powdered false hair shaped like towering sculptures. Some wigs weighed several kilograms and required support frames beneath hats. To keep the creations fresh, people sprinkled them with flour, starch, or crushed lavender. But insects thrived inside the layers, and wearers sometimes scratched so violently their scalps bled. Still, removing the wig in public meant humiliation. Status always outweighed comfort. In Inca civilization, cleanliness was part of leadership. Rulers bathed daily in sacred rivers, believing purity strengthened authority. They used scented oils made from coca leaves, quinoa, and herbs to maintain skin and hair. Gold-tipped grooming tools signaled elite identity. Beauty wasn't random. It aligned the body with the sun god Inti. A ruler who appeared dirty or unkempt risked losing spiritual respect, proving hygiene was deeply tied to power and legitimacy. In rural Europe during the 1500s, many believed brushing teeth was unnecessary because chewing hard bread cleaned everything naturally. Some people rubbed ashes onto their teeth only before festivals. Breath was often masked with clove buds or parsley leaves, especially during courtship. Oral care didn't exist as science, it existed as improvisation. People didn't fear cavities, they feared social embarrassment. Smell mattered more than decay. In ancient Turkey, women used crushed almonds mixed with lemon juice to bleach body hair. Some also threaded eyebrows using silk strings, creating sharp, symmetrical lines considered both graceful and intelligent. Baths were central to culture, especially hammams. Steam, clay masks, and eucalyptus oils created a ritual of slow renewal. Beauty wasn't rushed, it unfolded like ceremony, blending health, conversation, and spiritual softness. In pre-Columbian South America, the Moche people pierced noses and ears to display social status. They polished skin with oils made from avocado and seeds and used red hematite pigment to decorate bodies during ceremonies. Grooming was storytelling. Each mark, scent, and object revealed clan loyalty or spiritual belief. Beauty existed beyond attraction. It represented cosmic connection. In Victorian medical textbooks, doctors warned women that washing hair too often caused nervous collapse. Many washed only once or twice a month, using cornstarch or cold tea to reduce oil. Hairpins, ribbons, and elaborate styles concealed buildup. Cleanliness wasn't measured by touch. It was dictated by fear and social expectation. The body wasn't trusted. It was managed. In Mongolian nomadic culture, hair care relied on practicality and environment. People washed rarely, using fermented mare's milk or animal fats to protect hair from extreme wind and cold. Braids were functional, holding memory, tradition, and identity. Grooming respected climate rather than fashion. Beauty meant adaptability and resilience, not fragility or ornament. In 19th century Paris, nail care became fashionable. Women polished nails using chamois leather and beeswax until they glowed naturally. Bright colors were considered inappropriate or wild, so elegance lived in subtle shine, not pigment. Hands represented gentleness, wealth, and refinement. Soft palms and short, symmetrical nails signaled upbringing. Hygiene became quiet performance. In ancient Mesopotamia, both men and women lined eyes with thick black kohl made from soot and minerals. They believed it protected vision from heat, insects, and evil spirits. The cosmetic became symbolic, part protection, part identity. Grooming wasn't vanity, it was survival woven with belief. The face became a shield, both literal and spiritual.